Welcome to Psychic Nerds number 4. So happy to have Wea64 here, David, Sam, QM Dynamism.
Yep.
Yeah. Mr. Ghost Santino, I think Barefoot is going to join us, maybe even Tinkerbell here in a little bit. So super excited.
Is she out of the woods? Is she coming out of the woods to
I hope so.
found some 5D?
Now I've got that song stuck in my head, Out of the Woods.
Oh my God. I was just having a dream last night. I told her when Tinkerbell came on to Discord, I said to her, it's so funny that you came on, and she commented, she just said, hey, Samantha, how are you doing? She saw I was typing in the room. And just before I came on, I was remembering a dream I had from the people on the other side. They pointed out to me how to create an audio file from the videos on Patreon that Tinkerbell is unable to watch because of her crappy internet in the woods where she's at.
Okay.
And she's not going to be out of the woods for probably about, what did I tell her, 2 more months?
Yes.
Talk about running somebody's life. I just tell her, and she's like, and she wrote me and she was like, you were right again. Neither of us had COVID. They had tests, right? They were sure they had it. And I was like, no, they didn't have it. And she was like, you were right again, from the amount that her mom sold the house for.
Yeah.
To just so many things, right?
Yeah.
But I said to her, that's so funny that you're here because you helped me remember what the people on the other side were showing me. And then I went into Patreon and I looked and I was like, I can do an audio file. All right. I'm going to do that now. So because so many people, and somebody was talking about listening to us on the way to their commute to work. Right. And I thought, you know what, if they could download that on an audio file, they're not going to use up their, I mean, I don't know about where you guys are at, but for us to get data, it's really expensive in our country.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not in Australia. It's pretty neat. 20 gigs. They kept giving it to me now. Oh. It's like, oh, we'll give you 5 more gigs. It's like, I don't need it anymore. Oh, here's another 5. Okay, I'm on 20 gigs and 40 now, and I can't use it.
Yeah,
what do you call abundance?
Yeah, I know.
Universe keeps giving.
I know. It's like, okay, I'll give it to the child.
Yeah, in the US we have a lot of universal plans that are kind of unlimited. So sorry, Sam, go.
I just wanted to get this out there before I forget, because you know me and Squirrel, right? I was just saying before how we should have sort of started taping earlier because what are you calling yourself now?
QM Dynamism, Queen Maria.
Empowering you, or a billionaire from last time, or AKA Maria. Stop changing your name.
Queen no, I will not.
Me. Like, who is this new person in the Discord? Just taking over the room. But you talked about before how you joined the channel, and I want you to tell people the story about it, and then I want to tell everybody what I was said to Debbie Griggs when she was confirming.
Okay. Well, before I do that, I'm going to ask, Waya, is that Harbour Bridge behind you?
Is that no? That's a bridge.
I saw the other half.
Yeah, it's in the US.
Okay. Anyways, I remember going through YouTube, and I at that time, it was interesting. At that moment, I said, I'm not joining any groups. I was adamant, like, I'm not doing this. And the video of there was of Samantha's photo and Debbie, and it just kept popping up. And I'm like, I'm not looking for crypto. I'm looking for music. I'm looking for Abraham Hicks videos. I'm looking for meditations. But that video just kept sticking in my face. And I'm like, you know what? I remember being told, if something keeps persisting, you need to go and do something about it. So I watched that video, and it's like, don't join. Okay, I've joined.
Well,
what year and month was that?
Last year. Was it April or May?
It was probably
last year, yes.
March. That's the same one that got me to join. That's
was it? There you go. High five.
And for those people who don't know the story, back before I started my channel, I had the people on the other side laid out for me what was going to happen. And I was like, I didn't believe it. They said, you're going to gather together this group of people. You're going to teach the mediums are going to come to you. You're going to teach them cryptocurrencies, just all of this information about starting a channel and everything, and then where it was going to lead to, and broadcasting and so on. And I was like, this sounds crazy. Ideas of grandeur. And I'm just a normal person, right? Just a normal business person with the gift of the sixth sense, second sight. And I just didn't realize how good I was at it, because I had never practiced it outside of really serving myself and a few family and friends when obvious things came up. So the people on the other side said to me, well, we're going to give all of this information to another medium. And then they found her for me, and it happened to be Debbie Griggs. And so what I did is I booked a reading online, because they said to me that they would give all this information to her. And I said, okay, well, that'll be confirmation that I'm not batshit crazy, right? Because it sounded crazy to me. I mean, especially the public part. And so I had the reading with her, and she confirmed everything. And I was like, oh my God. And then when I flew to Anaheim for my daughter, she was going to, she has her own channel and she was going to VidCon. And because she's a teenager, I have to supervise her. Turns out that Debbie Griggs was going to be 2 hours north of where I was. And she was actually driving 2 hours south to go to some event that she said she never goes to, but she said yes. So guess who ended up meeting her in person? Me. Because I was like, oh my God, I'm meeting her in person, this lady that I had a reading with just in March. And here it is, I think it was June. And so anyways, I ended up giving her a reading and we had a discussion about the channel. And she said, like, she reiterated what they said to me. She said to me during the reading, and she said, you have to stay anonymous. I mean it. And she goes, oh, and then they're bringing it up again. You have to stay anonymous. Yeah. But then her and I had this discussion in person and I said, but they're showing me that I have to show myself because the eyes are the windows to the soul. And they're showing me that there's men and even women who will just see my face and go, we have to be a part of this. I said, it's not a sexual thing. These are straight women, right? I said, it's a spiritual thing. Yeah. And it's like, your eyes are the windows to the soul and they'll see me and then they'll know that it's right. And then they'll be like, we have to come and find out more about this. And so that's when it came up that, okay, I'm just going to use a pseudonym for myself so I can show my face, but anybody Googling my name would not find the connection and be able to knock on my door. And then I would be overwhelmed, especially once a lot of the things are found out about what I can do. So that's an interesting story and you even talked about Debbie Griggs, and I didn't hear you originally say anything about Debbie Griggs when you first saw me. And I said to you, tell the story, and then it'll give me a chance to give a plug to Debbie Griggs, because, for those people who haven't heard about her, she's a medium out of California that who knows me, and we've done some work together.
Well, even Sam, we can elaborate more, like to look at Barefoot Duck. I keep saying, okay, it's just more Russian comes out. Duck.
Duck, goose.
Us. Yeah. Out of all the people in your group, to gravitate towards a person, then her coming and going, I need to go and see QM Dynamism. Why? I'm like, yeah, you can come and see me. We clicked. And then when I felt that overwhelming feeling that I'm done where I was, I'm like, I need to go and see Duck. And here we are, right? Like, so when I stopped arguing within that feeling within myself, it's just like, I am exactly what I'm meant to be. You connect with people and then take us here when we do our weekend connection, don't we, guys? There is just flowing. We can click between different conversations. We understand each other. The synchronicity as well of things that we have been doing, right?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I kind of get in. So we've already received some feedback about these shows, and maybe one show they'll say, "Can you not do so much woo woo?" And the next one will be, "Hey, can you not do so much crypto?" And I just want to let everybody know this is a bunch of friends hanging out, having a beer.
Coffee.
Yeah, or coffee. We believe that we all exhibit psychic ability or are very intuitive, and there's a few on here that are actual mediums. So we like to blab about all sorts of stuff, new stuff. How we found the channel, our connection with one another. I think all of us are at various levels of acceptance of some of the specialness in which we have. Some of us are kind of brand new to it. Some of us have struggled with this since we were early young kids and not really understood or not really fit in. We try and explain these experiences to people and they would kind of laugh or look at us like we're nuts. So we probably learned over time to just keep our mouth shut. So that being said, I want to get into, there was two cool things that happened to me this week. First of all, I was experiencing a lot of trauma in my right arm. And I talked to Barefoot about it, and I asked her if she could do a remote healing. And wow, woke up the next day and felt amazing. And this had plagued me all week. Barefoot, can you kind of talk about that a little bit and what you did and the process and who came through? Because it was like night and day. I was in so much pain, and it was fixed.
That's great to hear, Moo. Actually, when you asked me to do something about your elbow, the way I do it is to just visualize the person's being and the part of the body that I'm working on. And I have a particular hand movement that I do, which kind of initiates the energy transmission. I guess that's the phrase that QM Dynamism uses. But I feel very strongly what we would call in traditional Chinese medicine, the qi. So I could feel the qi, and it was blocked, and it was throbbing quite badly. So I could sort of understand the amount of pain that you were in. So I moved it, and I guess if someone was looking at me, they would have thought that I was a little bit crazy because I was making movements with nobody in front of me. But the end of the session, that was probably only about 15 or 20 minutes, but at the end of the session, as I had moved the chi down the arm and released it so that the flow was coming back to the arm, your mum popped in. So just as I was kind of sealing it up and it was actually very interesting because I consciously brought nurturing to your arm, and at the mention of the word nurture, that's when your mum popped in, and I was quite surprised because that had never happened to me before. It was a lovely session.
So beautiful.
I can't thank you enough for that experience and fixing my arm. And I thought that was really cool that my mom popped in. She wasn't being kind of forceful, but she could be very, very kind of forceful. Okay, cool.
No, she was actually really standing there just observing and approving and, you know, sending her love. That's how I felt.
Thank you so much. That's cool.
And she came for your reading right away as well.
Yeah, isn't that
So
great?
had some confirmation there. And I didn't find your mom to be pushy at all. She was great. You know, I could see that she's definitely, you know, mama bear personality, but you know, she knows when to bring it out, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Can we go back to the QMD discussion about that? Because I'm interested to say a little bit about that and kind of what Sam said about the eyes. I don't think that was necessarily what drew me. It was more the conversation between you and Debbie that drew me in, but it drew me to Sam, not Debbie. And I'm not really sure why. I had listened to Sam. I had listened to Sam before, but I didn't get the same traction that day. There was something special about that interview and what y'all discussed that kind of went, yes, this is something I need to be a part of. And I'm kind of like QMD. What I never called it this before, but what Sam calls knowings, I realize now, yes, I've had those throughout my life, not realizing they were real. I just thought it was my imagination, you know. Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit different experience than maybe honing in on Sam about the eyes, but it was more about what she was saying, and it just resonated with me and kind of went, yeah, that's where we need to be.
Isn't that interesting? I was actually, before waking up, I was ideas about, and oh my God, it is happening. It's like, we're going to talk about healings. It's like, wouldn't it be nice talking about healings? And there's my heart chakra goes. And here we are talking about healings. And I'm like, what you just said, I feel like the information is sitting here. I was going to share that. Well, I'm going to now. When Mu'en keeps talking about things, my Russian comes out, excuse me. And I'm like, oh my God, what is he talking about? He's talking another language. And then he keeps talking, continues to talk at you or Sam. And suddenly I just go, ding, 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 ding. Oh, I got it. Thank you. I don't know why, but that's prompted me to share that conversation. But eyes, for me, yes. Oh God, you know, when there's new rules, when you go out on a date, you don't look at a person's eye, inside person's eyes. I'm like, no, I do. That's just how I get to identify if you're beautiful. That's how I get to connect to you. Like, look me inside my eyes.
Where did those rules come from?
I have no idea. But we make them up, right? But to me, it's so important to look inside person eyes.
No, I agree.
And that's how I get to like communicate. But how interesting, it's like, no, I don't know if you're beautiful until I talk to you, until I look inside your soul, until I connect to you. That is my new rule.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like I can get a lot of information by looking into someone's eyes or their lips or their teeth or the shape of their mouth when they're speaking or the wrinkles on their forehead above their eyebrows, you know, as they're speaking. Like I feel like I get a lot of information from that, especially the eyes, for sure.
I feel like Santino should comment on, are you guys trying to do criminology? You know, if you lie to me, you know, those faces.
That's why I don't know his face. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, you see, Queen Maria, that only works if you haven't done something wrong, right? If you've done something wrong, you don't want to look anybody in the eyes.
Oh, well, yeah, actually, it's quite interesting when police was on the door checking that I did the test. It's like, oh my God, don't look. No, I didn't do anything wrong. I look you in the eye. Go on.
Yeah. Also, those that don't want to be read won't look you in the eyes. It's not always a sign of deception, right? If they're not looking to be probed, you know, for a lot of various reasons, right? A lot of empaths are like this. To look somebody in the eyes can be painful for them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
And, you know, being led, you guys are saying a lot of you talking about your experiences, basically what you're talking about is being led by creation or being led by universe or source, by whatever name you want to call it. Well, being led, it's a skill. You have to learn how to be led. In this world that's surrounded by constant noise and distractions and all the nonsense that's surrounding us, it's not an easy skill to develop. And once you develop it, your life becomes infinitely better.
Yeah, I hate to butt in or retell the story that probably a lot of people have heard. So if it's too boring, let me know. But I was drawn to Sam, my favorite song on my favorite record, and boom, she picked that as her theme song. And I felt like this song was always important to me. The lyrics always resonated with me since I was a kid, and I knew that it would be very important for me in the future. And this is a song that I've continued to listen to since I was a kid. So the name of the song is She Sells Sanctuary. And as soon as I heard that song, I just kind of smiled and thought, okay, well, here's my letter from the past, right? It finally arrived. So I guess I have to get to know this woman because I think she's going to be fantastic. So
sometimes it can hit you over the head. It's not very subtle, right? In those moments, like it's pretty obvious. Oh, this is definitely, this is not coming from me. And one of the things that, I say to people, because this is a question that gets asked a lot. How do I know this isn't my mind or source, right? And one of the hacks or tricks you can use is that if the information you're getting is completely different than what your normal narrative would be, because we all have our narratives, every single one of us, right?
Yep.
So if you're sitting there and all of a sudden the information you're getting is directly opposed to a belief system that you have, you should pay attention to that. Someone's trying to tell you something, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I was led to crypto. I was a gold and silver guy. I was a finance guy, dealing with finances, dealing with finance people. That was almost like a second career I had. And then all of a sudden I began to see code. Well, what's that all about? I'm not a techie. I'm the furthest thing you can get from a techie. And all of a sudden I knew things I couldn't explain how I knew. And that's what led me to crypto. And there'll be many of you will probably have similar experiences on how you were led there, right? Why am I seeing code? It took me a while to put it together, what it was that I was seeing.
Yeah.
Remember, code is the basis of the universe, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Universe is an equation.
But remember also it goes back to Santina and what we spoke in the first episode. How do we become aware of it? How do we, because we're so lost in the noise of our lives, and you keep mentioning, and everyone it keeps coming back, is like, it's the commitment, it's the everyday showing up, it's allocating that time to quieten your surroundings, your mind.
Not an easy thing. Sorry, Wayne, go ahead.
No, I was going to add to that and say it almost feels like it just comes to me when it should, I guess, or whatever. It's not like I don't feel I'm as advanced as maybe you guys are, but it seems like when I need to know, it comes to me. Otherwise, it's kind of just not really there.
Yeah, that was me earlier days, Wea. The earlier days. It was now I guess I can use the word conjure. Before that used to be a negative word to me where you're kind of forcing the information, so I don't really consider it conjuring. All I have to do now is just get into the state of mind. And that happens on the Discord channel all the time now. People write me to give me follow-up on advice that I've given them or information that I've given to them, just sort of at the drop of a hat. They just happen to place a question in the Q&A room, or they're at one of the levels where they just send me a personal message and I just give them an answer. And then they give me the information back. And I can't say that it used to be as easy for me back then when I just had the general knowings. Like I used to be where you were, where it was like, it just came when it came and it was right. I recognize it. I used to think it was part of my imagination, then it's not. Right. But now it's like you can start to work at a higher level once you learn how to translate.
Yeah, you've said it correctly. I think once you know how to translate, like when I was growing up, there's certain things like I was sharing with yesterday as a kid. It's like, why is it that I was just gravitating towards only these books? I was just like, but back then it was like they're trying to beat the intuition out of you. It's like it's evil, and only now it's making sense. I guess not now. It's the more I start paying attention. It's like, why is it that I gravitated towards this job, towards that person? Like there's something inside me that I've got to pay attention to. But the biggest thing for me, when you could say I started, where when it just comes to you, was when I went traveling, when I followed on that guidance of I need to go. Something is pushing to show my daughter where her father was born. I just need to go. But not many people will understand, right? It's like, what are you talking about that you felt it? You got guidance? It's like, yes, I was seeing Italy everywhere and I was feeling strong that I need to go. And the minute I booked a ticket, I just felt this energy leaving my body and I nearly collapsed. And I'm like, yes, I need to do that. And then every month I had this knowingness, or whatever you want to call it, feeling going, I'm done. I need to go. I know where I'm going. On this date, I would sit down, I'll book the ticket and it will come easy. I didn't have to fight it. I didn't have to search for it. And the more I just kept surrendering, it just kept getting stronger and stronger until I came back into the society way of living and going, I'm not hearing anything. I'm feeling stuck. Why? Because I stopped paying attention to my intuition.
That's the being led part. That's the being led part, right? So it's in some ways we complicate, you know, all of us as human beings complicate what is infinitely simple, right? Are you suffering? If you're suffering, you're not listening, you're not being led. The less suffering you have, the more that you're paying attention to being led. At the end of the day, it really is that simple. And on the knowings part that you guys are talking about, you know, everybody has different names for them. I don't really have a name for it, but I would always ask people, you know, how do you know what you know? Because sometimes you'll know things that you can't possibly know, correct? You've all experienced that.
100%.
And you'll get something, and then you'll go to the internet and you'll look it up fiercely, and it's, oh my God, this is a thing.
Right.
This is an actual thing.
That's a knowing. That's what we call it. That is the definition of a knowing. There is no way. That's how I prove stuff to people. Do I not, Andrea? Prove that when I do readings? Stuff that, I mean, who knew about your rich dad who had this vehicle that he liked to play in the dirt with? That's oddly specific, isn't it? Right? That's a knowing. There's no way.
There's no way for you to know that other than to know it, right?
It's just a knowing. It pops into your head. And like Santino says, you go on the internet and you're like, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, who would believe me that I just randomly thought about that and then it is a thing? Or in my case, does Italy have active volcanoes? Because that was one of the things I saw was a volcano, you know, where it would make the news erupting in Italy, and then Deutsche Bank collapses. And then that's the key. That's sort of the linchpin to the economic destruction. It's almost like I like how Max Kaiser says the 2.5 hours of the Titanic movie, it's only the last 25 minutes is this actual sinking of the Titanic. Right. And, you know, the dramatic part. And we're kind of at that point now.
Yeah.
Yes, it is interesting. But talk about all of that. You know what, Santino, just go more. We can confuse it. We again continue to have that discussion where I call it. I throw a human tantrum. That's one thing I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like we cannot deny feeling those emotions when they come. Emotions of anger, emotion of what we call it impatience.
I don't have emotions.
Yes, we know that. We know that.
Well, you have to control your emotions.
Hey?
You have to control your emotions.
Yeah, but this is the thing, you know, David, we can't just go to a person that's new to go, get over it, control it. No, like a kid, you learn, right? Through practice. This is where we come in. Like, you know, how can I teach if I've never experienced that? Do you know what I mean? How can I guide if I've never lived through it? If I never, like, it's one thing being book smart or this, but if you don't live through it, if you don't experience it, I personally think because we are in this human world, we can't reject that. We feel we have the knowings because of this human body. Yeah. And this is what we discuss is like, why do we, like I see now, but the tantrums are shorter.
No, but right? you had what a while back that reached to the other side of the world where I am. Stefan's like waking me up in the middle of the night and I'm like writing you, I'm like reading it. And like David says, you have to learn to control these tantrums.
But to get there, right, you need to experience those things. Like they're shorter. Now my tantrums are shorter.
Well, if you keep putting energy in it, it's getting worse.
Yes, I agree with you. I'm not denying that it's not the case. I'm talking about that. Yeah, we do overcomplicate it. However, you do become stronger and better at it with time, right? So you process them better. You throw a tantrum shorter, or you don't throw a tantrum at all.
Yes.
I think that was your nexus point, though. I think that I felt like you were at a nexus point, and that everything sort of all collided in on you at once, and you just kind of. It really blew your mind, didn't it? And that's why that came to get me and said, you need to talk her out of, I had to talk you down, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, those emotions are real when you're learning, right? Yeah. When you're learning, when you don't know, like the thing is like all of us who bring together, we don't have a guru standing right there or a teacher going, oh, this is what's happening, like a mother teaching their kid. Yeah. We don't have that in the world. We have to we like literally, you know, Santino will enjoy this, swimming through the sharks with two heads going, oh shit, don't eat me. How do I get out of here?
The guru's inside of you. You just have to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but David, for me to get to there, I have to go through this, right? For me to, you know, because as I said, you don't know what I go through and I have no idea what you go through. But however, when at that, Samantha can confirm what was happening, the emotions were really strong and they all compiled into one, you know, of what is going on around the world, you know, my daughter, I'm responsible for my daughter. It's just me not knowing where the hell we're going, the uncertainty there, the heart ripping apart because I was closing another chapter.
And there's a place, there's a place for emotional combustion. What Sam is talking about. I call it emotional combustion, right? Human beings go through that when they're about to break through into something, like they need to hit that needs to be excised, right?
Yes.
So it's excised, and now you've had it. You've had it's like, oh, now, okay, now what next, right?
Yeah. Mine was when the point when my husband was angry at me because he didn't know what was going on because I was leaving. I wasn't taking that plum offer that was being given to me to basically, just sort of repeat my success somewhere else. And that gave the guaranteed income flow, right? So he was upset about that. I had people saying things about me that weren't true. Oh, they're paying the price, but that's fine. I walked away from that. That's all in my rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And I had a few other things going on, but the main thing was too, the knowings were getting like crazy at that point as well. But I knew I wasn't crazy, but I was at a nexus point. And that's what I mean about, or the emotional explode, that
Yes.
point when you're ready to move on to something better.
Yes.
And I hadn't thought about it that way till Santino brought up about that's where humans get to that point. I'm like, yeah, you know what? When I got through that, my husband and I, he worked it out. He even sort of, when I started the Patreon channel and things that people were reporting, oh, that was true. Oh, you did this and you told me about that. And he had seen quite a few things, but that it's not the same as when other people have the experience over and over again. Now you can't make it go away anymore as a coincidence. You have to embrace it and understand that you've married somebody who has a very unusual ability, and you didn't want to be married to that, but here you are now. And so he reached his nexus point as well and made a decision, because again, there's some pretty crazy stuff going on when you're married to somebody who's like this. So anybody who's going through this right now, because I'm telling you right now, the vibrations are increasing. So if you had knowings before, you're probably getting more of them. If you had ability, whatever you had before, I feel like it's expanding because the vibration are increasing it.
Can I ask a question to both you and Santino about that?
Sure.
Well, as you're probably aware, I posted a rare posting. I heard voices, and I was floored. I mean, I didn't even post it for a week, just because I was processing what happened. That going from having occasional knowings to that was really weird, because I haven't experienced some of the things that you other guys have about being able to read this and that and other. I just have knowings, and then this happened. So can somebody help me understand and process that?
Well, I think it's part of your progression. I think it's part of you probably gaining and more important than gaining any sort of extra specialness, right? I think you're coming into a larger acceptance. And I think that's what Sam's talking about is it gets to a point for a lot of us where we just have to accept where we're at, where we're going, and to kind of turn back is no longer an option, that we have to go forward. So I think you're now accepting, you're being more open to these things occurring, right? You might even find that you start getting more of this clairaudience, like more and more often, just because it becomes normalized for you. It seems like I've run into a couple different types of people that are special up on the Discord, and we get the ones that are amazed that they have some sort of ability to do this, that, or the other, or pick up on this, that, or the other. And then we have other people where it's so normalized that it's just a part of who they are, and they don't even really necessarily feel like it's special in any way, shape, or form. What was the clairaudience that came through, Wea?
I was watching a commercial. I was watching Trump do a speech in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and Fox kept going in and out of the speech. So I went to ESPN or C-SPAN, and at the end there was a commercial, and it was for the debate, for the first debate. And I walked over to move the television and change the channel, and they said Joe Biden will debate Donald Trump on, the 29th, 30th, whatever it was. And this voice, like I described, it's the voice that I normally hear when I say something in my head, but it didn't yell, but it was emphatic. It was, no, he won't. That was, and I just stood there and because it was so loud.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, did that really just happen? Yes. I kind of chuckled and just went, oh, wow.
It wasn't the voice of Tucker Carlson, was it?
No, it was not.
Well, that's why I love how David described it, and others, we've described it this way as well, that it's almost like talking to ourselves or getting information from ourselves, because sometimes it'll be in our voice, or it seems like us in the future, or us in another non-locale. So like different realm.
Well, I know Sam talks about hearing something left versus right, but this was in the center of my head.
Mine are usually right in the center. when it's in my voice. So if I read a news article and I get a very strong, that's bullshit. Like I know that it's not true. I know what I'm reading is not. It's
yeah,
like,
I do that.
Yeah.
It's a frequency switch is probably the easiest way to describe it. I have talked about that before, but it's the easiest way for me to how I see it is you're simply now your frequency is just on that channel. If there's 100 channels on Sirius in your car, whichever one you happen to switch on is the one that you'll be. It doesn't mean the other channels go away; they're always there. But now you have elevated your frequency or vibrations through, whether knowingly or not knowingly, you've done that, and now you're beginning to.